Hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Jobu, and we're here with Jobu Sports Report. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. So I go ahead and get this set up here, so I can see who's joining in. Listen to me. What is it good for? Jesus be with me. What is it good for? It's too loud. Sorry about that. All right, we'll turn that down. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining into the Jobu Sports Report. And it has been a fantastic day for me. I've actually been putting out a lot of videos. I had the day off, so I'm trying to catch up before this week. And it's going to be a hellacious week coming up. So I want to get as much stuff out there. And there's so much going on with the Dallas Cowboys. And I want to say hello to everybody from Brandon, Bobby, Bill, John, Jenny, Huggy, Brandon, Cardell, Steve, Johnny Boy, Johnny Martin, Rudy, Nick. What's up, everybody? How are we doing? Well, let's go ahead and start getting right into everything that's happening with the Dallas Cowboys, because there's a lot going on. And if you've been following along my videos, you'll definitely see all the stuff. The latest thing has been that Travis Frederick and Tyron Smith have restructured their contract so that we got $17.3 million worth of cap relief, which is great. The question is exactly how much space is that going to end up being, because what it really amounts to is we don't know exactly what the cap will be. It could be 170 million, it could be 168, it could be 166. But we should have been about 10 million over the cap, roughly. So we created about 7 million in space. And there's other places they can go through and create space. Now, what I want you to understand is, a lot of people will say, man, those are really team players, man. They gave money back to the Dallas Cowboys. And no, that's not exactly what they did. What's up, Elijah, Nicholas, Ernie, Francisco, DK, Martin, Starboy? Boy, we got a lot of people in here early tonight. Anthony, thank you all for joining in. The way it actually works is the Dallas Cowboys, basically with the swipe of a pen, just took money that was part of their contract, made it guaranteed, wrote them a check, and then spread it out over the length of the contract. See, Tyron Smith's cap hit this year, because we've already restructured it before, was going to be $15.8 million. So what did they do? They took $7 million, wrote him a check, and then they spread that out to the length of the rest of the contract, which is how we got into trouble with Tony Romo. So the problem with that is like Popeyes, Wimpy, I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Well, Tuesday's going to come around eventually, and it bites you in the ass. So the Cowboys kicked the can down the street. So they did the same thing with Travis Frederick. He just signed his contract last year. They took $10 million off of that, took his $14.8 million cap hit, made it 4.8. So there's other places they can do that. There's some players that they can cut and get that money. Now, when we're dealing with Tony Romo's situation, there's two ways we can do it. We can cut him right now, get $5.6 million, and have that for free agency. Or we can make him a June 1st cut, say, Tony, have a nice day, and basically get $14 million of cap room. So you can get 5.6 now, or you can get 14 later. The only problem with that 14 later is you can't use it till June 1st, which means if you're trying to sign a big name free agent, you wouldn't have that money available. However, you can use that money when it comes to Martin's contract over the summer, when it comes to guys that get injured and things like that, practice squad, and your rookies that you're going to draft. You could have that money later on, and you can, in fact, carry it over next year if you don't spend it. So it may be wise. Go ahead, cut Tony Romo, still making that June 1st one. Use your funny money and get yourself some more cap room. Now, I am always like to try and answer you guys' questions as much as possible. And I get from time to time some really crazy ones. Can't Jerry just write a check? Well, Nick, here's the problem. You can only spend $170 million. It's not like the good old days back in the 90s when there wasn't a cap and your teams that had money would just stockpile players on the team. You cannot spend more than $170 million. And here's the thing. When you take Tony Romo's contract and Dez Bryant, it's over $40 million. I think it's $43 million. Your defense is in the 30s, like $32 million. So when you look at two players costing more than your whole defense, then that's a problem. And let me give you another one that's kind of interesting. If you take, for all you guys that are Tony Romo fans, and by the way, shout out to Fred Funkin Bear, who finally is subscribed, who has been a Tony Romo diehard fan. You are no longer a Romosexual because you have now been Jobu'd because you subscribed to the Jobu Sports Report. So don't anybody call Fred a Romosexual anymore. Okay. If we take Tony Romo's contract money, and a lot of you will say, keep him as a backup, even though basically you're going to take on $54 million over 2 years, because if you don't deal with it this year, you're dealing with it next year. Tony Romo's contract could pay Ron Leary, Terrence Williams, Barry Church, Jack Crawford, Terrell McClain, and Dak Prescott. All of those players equal up to what Tony Romo's contract is. So, do you still want to keep him as a backup quarterback just in case shit happens? When you think about how many players that is for one guy who can't stay healthy, it's not a hard decision. Sorry. And I know Tony Romo has been a warrior. Tony Romo has done fantastic things. He's had some good teams. He's had some bad teams, and he's played well. You know, he's left his collarbone out on the field. He's left a punctured lung out on the field. He's left broken bones in his back. I wish him well. I don't have any hate for Tony Romo. But you got to understand that you've got $170 million to build a whole team. And the problem our Dallas Cowboys have had is basically 7-8 guys are like $100 million. And it's not just this year. This has been for quite a while. And that's part of the reason why we have done with, you know, has-beens, never were, and guys that won't be on the defense. You've got to balance that out between the offense and the defense, or else we're never going to get there. Thank you, Sandman. I mean, thank you, Wiz Young. You're right. Jobu needs a refill. Damn. No wonder Jobu doesn't like me anymore. Let me get to some of your questions in here. So that's the whole take with Tony Romo. It's not with me that I don't like Tony Romo. It's the simple fact of we need help. Elijah, I'm hoping that Tony Romo that we can get a trade. I would love to get something back for Tony Romo, but you know, who knows? At this point, everybody knows that Tony Romo's not going to be there. So if you're a team, are you really going to offer something to trade just to get him done? Either way, I think he will be cut before March 9th. One, because Jerry Jones respects him enough that, you know, he figures I'm going to let him go so that way he can do his thing, you know, elsewhere. Let me do something here real quick while we're talking. So look for that to happen any day now. Yeah, Nick, Peter King has said that Kansas City might be one of those destinations he might go to. Mark, give me a reason why the Cowboys got stuck with Tony Romo, because I know the answer. Why you got stuck with him? I don't know that they got stuck with him. I know that they ended up making a contract that was a very big contract, but it wasn't so much the contract as it was Jerry Jones restructuring like we're doing with Tyron Smith and Travis Frederick. We needed cash because we were over the cap. We had to keep taking money out of Tony Romo's. His contract is only $14 million, but the other 10 is paying back that bonus money, guaranteed money that we restructured and kept kicking it down the road. So when you look at people and they say that Tony Romo has got the biggest cap number, he's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, he's not worth it? No. He's actually 17th paid in the NFL, which is pretty cheap. But again, the problem is we've been in cap problems, we've gone through, and we've just restructured over and over again. So when you do that, unfortunately, it is what it is. You have to pay the guy eventually, and that's the problem we're facing now. Jobu's cup is empty. No, I filled it up there. Maybe I'm way behind here on the comments. I'm sorry. Let me get down here a bit. Can you say Calais Campbell? You know, I have been saying Calais Campbell. I'm hoping that the Dallas Cowboys get bold. Their philosophy has been a pretty good one, and it's done the team well. But unfortunately, when you sign, you know, the bottom basement guys, the guys that are a good balance, they end up being coached well and they end up doing well. You know, you get 3, 4, 5, 6 sack a season guys. However, they're never going to be that dominant guy. You know, David Irvin's had flashes and looks really good and could become a really great player if he has good people around him. But I don't think that he's going to be able to be a featured guy that's going to be that guy that the teams have to stop. So that's where I feel that you're going to need to open up the wallet and get a guy. And as I was pointing out, JPP will probably get re-signed by the Giants, but if he doesn't, he's looking for a long-term contract of about $75 million. I still say Calais Campbell actually had better numbers. He is older, but his last contract was 5 years, $55 million. So you're talking about $10 million a year. Not exactly a whole lot of money in comparison to some of the other guys that are out there. If you can get him for $10, $11 million a year, sign him to a 3-year contract with avoidable year at the end, you know, I think it would be worthwhile because he's going to make an impact now. And like I've said before, I feel like they'll be able to draft the best player available. We have a lot of needs. We're going to really need, although Kelvin Moore, they say they're interested in re-signing him as a backup, Mark Sanchez will probably go. You're going to lose at least one of your receivers between Bryce Butler, I'd like to see him gone, and Terrence Williams. Terrence Williams, although I think he kind of wants to stay, but it's going to be a matter of how much money is it going to cost you. You know, Jason Witten's getting up there in age. Is Golf Swarm going to be the guy? Is the other rookie we drafted, the basketball player, is he going to be able to be the guy? You don't know. So you may need to get a tight end, you may need to get a receiver, you may need to get a backup quarterback later in the draft. And then when you start looking at cornerbacks, you've got Barry Church as a free agent, J.J. Wilcox, Brandon Carr, Morris Claiborne. So all of a sudden you got 4 cornerbacks you got to replace, and you're not going to be able to replace all of them in the draft. Or you're going to have to re-sign some of those guys. Then when you start looking at the line, you know, you've got some guys there that are going to be free agents. So you got 7 draft picks to fill all those holes. You're going to have to use free agency. And my thing is we've got enough guys that are 3, 4 sack guys. We need a beast. You know, Julian, it's so funny how I keep hearing how Tony Romo is going to come back and he's going to beat us and he's going to laugh his way to the Super Bowl. You know, it's kind of funny because I even have heard some of you guys saying, we don't want to let Tony Romo go because he might come back and beat us. Really? So you're going to keep $54 million on your book? You're going to be able to not sign players on your team because you're worried that Tony Romo might come back and beat you? Come on, let's be logical here. Some of you Tony Romo fans, it just get to be a little bit crazy. Now, I started to, and this has been difficult for me to do. I finally started going through the Green Bay Dallas game. It's been really difficult for me to do that because I keep hearing all these people that keep saying that Dak Prescott lost that game for us. Dak Prescott. You mean the guy who threw 3 touchdown passes and over 300 yards, something Tony Romo never did in a playoff game, brought his team from 21-3 back to tie the game up. He's the reason we lost that game. So I started working on that, looking at the first half of that game, and started getting some clips together. And it's going to take a while to do this because I want to show every single play that he had to the point where it was 21-3. And I want them to show me where he lost the game for us. Because when I look at that thing, I recall a pass play of about 25 yards that a mysterious 12-man in the huddle, unsportsmanlike 15-yard penalty was called against us, where we would have had first down on the 15-yard line. Instead, ended up being 2nd and 20 from our 47-yard line. A penalty that has only been called one other time by the same official against Dallas in the Redskin game. Kind of interesting. So I look at that and say, yeah, that was definitely Dak Prescott's fault. And then I look at our defense, who literally went into a buzzsaw against Aaron Rodgers, who hadn't thrown a pick going into that game for 285 passes, who had been playing hot the last 8 weeks, killing everybody. They couldn't stop him on third down. They had a couple of occasions where they could have and didn't. There was another mysterious penalty against Morris Claiborne, hands to the face. That would have been a third down and long that we would have stopped them deep in their territory. There were penalties against our defense of illegal substitution, 12 men on the field. So all those were Dak's fault then, right? If I'm correct? Because that's what we keep getting told, because it's Dak Prescott's fault we lost that game. Not that the coaches had anything to do with it, like the substitutions or having him clock the ball and then proceeding to pass 3 times instead of running out the clock. Yeah, that was all Dak Prescott. Because this stuff is ridiculous, because either you didn't watch the game, you don't understand football, you're listening to the talking heads that don't know what they're talking about, or you just fat out hate Dak Prescott, because nothing can be further from the truth. I can understand if he threw 3 interceptions and threw for 150 yards. You could say, yeah, he had a bad game. We lost it because of him. But 3 touchdown passes and coming back from 21-3, and it's his fault? Come on, man. Let's be real. Let's get to some more of your stuff. So, it's just time to start realizing, guys, that Tony Romo's gone. I wish him well. I thank him for everything he's done, but the future is now. So any of you guys that are in here that don't like what I have to say, you don't have to listen. There's plenty of other channels you can go to and listen to exactly what you want to hear. That Tony Romo is the man. He's the guy that should be starting. Go to those sites. Have at it. Have a good time. I am about getting this team together. I want a Super Bowl. I want as many opportunities to get that Super Bowl. At best, you got 2 seasons with Tony Romo to try and do it. And if you do that, you're leaving players off the team that we desperately need. So, bye-bye. Well, that's actually Bill, that's actually part of what I'm going to be using for this video coming up, because what I was going to say is, we got the hit that sent shockwaves to the Dallas Cowboys and brought us Dak Prescott. That was the perfect storm, to be honest with you. The way everything fell in place, I'll be honest with you, is almost eerily crazy. Think about it. For Kelvin Moore to get injured in training camp, moving Dak up to 3rd string, so he ended up getting more work in camp. Not only that, with Tony Romo always taking off Wednesdays, that gave him time to work with the #1 offense, something a 3rd string quarterback doesn't get. And for Tony Romo to get hurt when he did, it didn't give the Cowboys enough time to try and sign somebody else. So he ended up getting all that work. It may have been a lot different had it been that Kelvin Moore didn't get hurt and Tony Romo didn't get hurt until like the seasons got going, because then he'd been working basically scout team and stuff. He wouldn't have gotten all the reps that he got. So those clips that you see is actually for that Tony Romo timeline video that I'm working on. It'll be a 2-part video set. And what it's going to do is I'm going to show what happened with Tony Romo there. He got hurt, and showing you some of the hits that go on in the NFL. And if, in fact, if Tony Romo had been taking some of these hits, do you think that he would still be playing for very long with his injury history? I look at Cam Newton and the beating that he took all season. You take any one of those hits the way Tony Romo has been lately, he's gone. Why would Washington let Kirk Cousins go? They're not. I tell you what, I think I've heard rumors about Kirk Cousins is happy to be franchise tagged because eventually he wants to get out of there. He doesn't want a long-term deal with them. And he's happy to take $25 million, play, prove it, and all that, and walk eventually, because he's seen what the Redskins do to quarterbacks. And the Redskins are pretty stupid, being quite honest with you, to not support the guy. They've already spent, if they franchise tag him now, more money than it would have been to sign him to a long-term deal 2 years ago, because they could have done, $40 million guaranteed, $100 million contract. Well, hell, they're going to pay over $55 million just for last year and this year. Again, it's the Redskins, of course, that always make the wrong move. Is that a troll in the background? I don't see any troll, Nick. Steve Hill, the schedule next year is going to be brutal. And we've got some great quarterbacks that we're going to be playing next year. When you think that we're going to be playing Atlanta, Green Bay, Seattle, the AFC West. So it means we've got Derek Carr. We've got the Denver Broncos in that defense. We've got Kansas City and possibly Tony Romo. San Diego, Phillip Rivers isn't exactly a pushover either. And, of course, the NFC East. You got to think the Eagles are going to be better. The Redskins, always a tough game. I don't care what their record is. And the Giants, we lost to them twice. So, yeah, it's going to be a hell of a season next year to be able to keep up with. I got to tell you, I appreciate all of you guys tuning in tonight. It's fantastic, the response that you guys have given me and everything else on this thing. I don't know if you guys know it, but I also do the Benet Emery Show. And in 20 minutes, I'll be doing that live. I do about a 7 to 10 minute segment on the show. And it's been 3 years that I've been doing it, and that's a whole lot of fun and stuff. So you guys are actually part of the show, or I'll actually be double teaming the Benet Emery Show as well as live streaming. And I definitely enjoy live streaming with you guys, getting the comments in live real time and stuff. We're also going to be doing, of course, more Skype in interviews, and I'm working on getting some people here, some really great people that we're going to be Skyping in and having some Skype interviews. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys stay with me all off season, because when anything happens with the Dallas Cowboys, I try and bring it to you guys as quick as I can and give you my thoughts on what's going on. What if we draft a safety early on and move Byron back to corner? Yeah, well, we can do that. And I could see doing that if we get a pass rusher in free agency. Because here's the thing. You can get a great cornerback. And a great cornerback may be able to shut one guy down, but you still got 3 other cornerbacks that have to cover. And when you look at some of the teams that are out there, they have multiple weapons. Look at, Atlanta can kill you in so many different receivers. So if you're only upgrading one guy, you're not really doing too much. Whereas if you get one good pass rusher who can put pressure constantly on the quarterback, he makes the other 10 guys around them that much better. If I'm taking a double team and you're worried about stopping me, and I'm 6'8", and I can eclipse the sunlight for the quarterback, guess what? David Irving on that end is going to be wide open. He's going to have single coverage. He'll be able to use that speed to get around the end. Collins, he'll be able to get a great push because he's one-on-one. So your pass rush gets that much better. And if instead of having to hold up for 4 or 5 seconds, or like we saw Aaron Rodgers eating a ham sandwich and not even buttoning up his chin strap back there because he knew he wasn't going to get hit, if they only have to hold up for 3 seconds versus 7 or 8, I guarantee you they're going to play well. Take a look at the New York Giants when they won their Super Bowls. Can you say that any one of their cornerbacks were great cornerbacks? Hell, they had Jason Sehorn. Not that I got anything against Jason Sehorn, but he was a white boy. Not that fast. But that pass rush they had was so dominant, it didn't matter who they had on the back end. And that's where we need to get. We have not been over. This year we had 34 sacks this season, which is the best we've done in a long time. 28, 29 sacks, 30 sacks, 34 sacks. That ain't going to cut it. You got to get to that 40-plus sack range to be effective. You saw what Atlanta did with the great offense, but they didn't have that defensive pass rush that could get pressure on Tom Brady in the second half. And they got 8 alive. So you can have a great offense, but if you ain't got the defense, you're not getting the ring, guys. Amanda, well, thank you, Amanda. I'm trying to put all kinds of work into the channel. What's really cool is if you guys will go to, I'm working on redoing the whole front cover of the site. You know, I'm old and I'm technology challenged. I wish I had somebody who could walk me through it, but I've set it up so now that way there's categories for videos. There's Dak Prescott. There's the 2016 season. Now there's one category in there. It's where it began. And for Texas Made out there, who's always saying that I just came around this year when they started winning, this channel started in 2012 is when I originally started it. In 2013 is when I first posted my first videos. And on there, you will see some claymation ones where Jobu's moving around. And you will see the most interesting voodoo doll in the world, which was the very first one. And you'll see Jobu at Philadelphia's Eagles training camp in 2013. What's interesting is he and I are both wearing Dallas Cowboy gear. Now, let me say that again. We went to the link, Eagles training camp, wearing Dallas Cowboys gear, walked all the way down to the bottom of the stadium. Jobu has his foam finger and gives it to the Eagles. If that's not a true Dallas Cowboy fan, people, I don't know what is. So all you people that say that I'm just a bandwagon fan that just came around this year when the Cowboys started winning, you're just a troll, or you just don't have a clue, or you just hate me. Because I live and breathe the Dallas Cowboys. You will not find a bigger Dallas Cowboy fan than me. And another thing that really ticked me off too is another person here said that I can't be a Dallas Cowboy fan because I'm not from Dallas. And that was the most asinine thing that I ever heard, because Dallas Cowboy fans are worldwide. I got a shout out from a guy from England who just started watching football 2 or 3 years ago, who's a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan now. I grew up here with my father sitting on the couch who hated the Redskins because they were the last team to integrate. And being a man who just lived through segregation and having to be bused 30 miles to go to school, having to drink out of fountains that were blacks only, yeah, he had hatred for the Washington Redskins. And me being a little kid sitting right beside him, I wanted to be like my dad. Dallas Cowboy fan. And that's where I fell in love with them. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have different stories and all that, but saying that you can only be a Dallas Cowboy fan if you come from Dallas is ridiculous. I have met Dallas Cowboy fans across the country, in Texas, in California, in Washington State, D.C. Hell, there's a hellacious amount of Dallas Cowboy fans here. In fact, we've got a great Dallas Cowboy fan club, DMV, run by my good buddy Karima Buchanan. And if you're in D.C., they meet over at Dave & Buster's over by the Redskins Stadium on Sundays. Great thing. I go on bus trips with the New York Giants game. We went to Pittsburgh this year. So this idea that Cowboy fans are only in Texas, come on, man. We're worldwide. We're the most popular team in the NFL. And instead of trying to condemn the ones that aren't in Dallas, you should be embracing us because we're supporting us. You know, I've been to New York, 3 different games in New York, supporting our Cowboys, spreading the mojo. I've been to the last 3 in Washington, spreading the mojo. And it's kind of interesting because those games always seem to go down to the wire. This year, we ended up having that interception in the end zone when the Redskins should have just blown us out, but yet we drove down with Dak Prescott, that quarterback that nobody thinks is worth anything, to win the game. The year before, when we had Matt Castle playing, and somehow Deshaun Jackson took the punt return backwards and fumbled the ball. And it was funny because we were in that end zone sitting there watching that. Another game the Cowboys should have lost. So when you say that this Dallas Cowboy fans are not Dallas Cowboy fans from Dallas, bro, get a life. See, look, I'm looking at people from Memphis, from Illinois, In Houston, what is the worst Dallas trade that you can remember? What is the worst trade that I can remember? Well, the best one definitely was the Herschel Walker one. Let me get back to you. Well, shit, Roy Williams. 2 number ones for Roy Williams. And that was definitely a bad move. And I'm trying to think of the other one from Seattle, wide receiver. We gave up, I think, 2 number ones for. I'm getting old and forgetful, but it'll come to me later on. Alexander is from Connecticut and loves the channel. So you got Jedi Dark Knight from Los Angeles. We got Adrian from New Mexico. Nixie, I think, it's funny because we haven't had as many of the trolls as we used to. And it's kind of, they don't bother me. In fact, I enjoy playing with them because Texas made, I hope you haven't taken it personal, but you've been coming at me. And so I've been throwing it right back at you. Because, see, I don't get mad. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I get even. I will talk trash, and I'll throw it back at you. And I have fun with it. So, they're not going to piss me off. It's just what they do. Louisiana in the house with Henry. ASP fan, Virginia Beach. Welcome to all you guys. Fort Worth, Texas. Wow. We got a whole lot of people in here tonight. See, I've got 17 minutes before I need to go on to the Benet Show. We are rolling tonight. Okay. Back to free agency. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on what we should do in free agency. Everybody knows that my thing is we need to get a beast. We tried that with Greg Hardy, but Greg Hardy was just a beast in the wrong way. Hitler was a cowboy. The Cowboys weren't around pretzel when Hitler was alive, dude. Jackie Smith, thank you from Atlanta. I'm noting, I don't know if you, Victor Butler, man, from Little Rock, Arkansas. If you guys have not seen Victor Butler, you have to check out his channel because he's a comedian and he makes fun of basically sports. So when a team loses, like the Eagles, the Redskins, or even us Cowboys, he's always got like a crying video where he goes off, and I'm going to have him on the show because you will die laughing. He's a great guy. Jedi Knight, I'm all in on Calais Campbell, and I would love to get him on the team. I think that is the best bang for the buck that we could possibly get in free agency if we're looking at spending a lot of money. I've heard people say Eric Berry, but Eric Berry probably will be re-signed by Kansas City. He's a safety. I just don't know that he's going to be able to make that much of an impact like a pass rusher will. Demetrius Poe is greater. Magic Toaster. Okay, tell you what. We have Demetrius Poe on our team already. Demetrius Poe had 27 tackles and only 1.5 sacks. Let me say again, 27 tackles and 1.5 sacks versus Calais Campbell, who had 54 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. So how is it that you think that Demetrius Poe, who has half the tackles, about 1/7 of the sacks, none of the forced fumbles, and none of the, he does have 1 interception, so they're equal in interceptions, forgive me. How is it that you think he's greater than Calais Campbell? And see, Calais Campbell isn't in a contract year where he just played balls to the wall like Jason Hatcher did. Calais Campbell was always a 5 to 9, 10 sack a year guy throughout his career. And in his career, he's missed all of 6 games. Let me say again, 6 games. So in his career, he missed half of what Tony Romo did last year. So tell me again why he's better. God is love. Thank you very much, man, for the support there on the channel. But it's not just me, guys. It's you guys as well. It's Jobu. It's all of us together making this great, because I believe that you end up learning something from everybody. I don't care who it is. It can be a bum on the street, but I guarantee you there's something he can teach you about. And by me having conversations with you guys, sometimes you remind me of things that have happened in the past, and sometimes you tell me about stuff that I didn't realize, or you may catch something that I missed completely. And I appreciate that, and that's why together we're so much better than apart. I wish that we could get our country to realize the same thing, that you may be black, Indian, white, Hispanic, Asian. We all bring something different to the table. And if we could put that all together and work together, it would be so much better. But I digress. So let me get away from that before somebody starts talking politics and everybody gets pissed off. Andy Garcia, you're right. JPP is looking for $75 million. So, you know, I'm not JPP, you know, he's a half a hand short. Yeah, Andrew, I can't wait till next season starts, but at least we have plenty to talk about, because it seems like every day we've got something going on. You know, it's so crazy because I forgot about the Zeke Elliott thing. And I've done a couple videos that have been kind of misleading a little bit to get you thinking one thing. Like I'll say, you know, there's big problems for the Dallas Cowboys defense, and I'll go through and say, yeah, they've got this player, that player, that player, that player. That's all playing well. So who do you start? So I guess I'm guilty of it as well. But what TMZ did with Zeke Elliott is just reprehensible. Excuse me if I mispronounce that. But they literally said Zeke Elliott detained by the police. If you are detained by the police, what you're thinking about is you're down at the police station, sitting in a chair with a big table in front of you and a two-way mirror, and you're not allowed to go home. At least that's what I think when you say you're detained by the police. And then you go in, you click on it, and you see the video, and he's literally just standing there for about a minute and goes about his way. So where is it that he's detained by the police in an incident that had nothing to do with it? They're just asking people what's going on. So it's ridiculous, because when you look back at the day they had off, where in the morning they had a charity event, they went to Children's Hospital, then they had the Dallas Cowboys Christmas party, and then that evening Dak and Zeke went to a club, had some champagne, and TMZ is, oh, Dak and Zeke are, you know, splashing champagne over people, trying to make stuff up when the stuff isn't there. It really bothers me. The Dallas Cowboys players literally have a target on their back, and they can't wait to have one of them mess up, to the point where they'll make shit up, because basically that's what they did. They made some shit up. You want to talk about fake news? That was fake news. But hey, what do I know? I'm a guy with a voodoo doll and a day job. There's something else I wanted to talk to you guys about. So what do you guys think, Tony? What do you think about Tony Romo going to Kansas City? I'm not sure that Kansas City is the best place for him, but hey, you never know. Could happen. Stranger things have happened. I still think that the Texans will be more of the place that he ends up going. And it'll be interesting to see when it all does break, how it goes. Heck, the way the Washington Redskins are, he may end up being in Washington, because with the Kirk Cousins issue, it's just kind of crazy. James, you're completely right about the secondary needs the help of the pass rush. Mark, he's not leaving. Yeah, I think some of you Romo fans are praying that Tony Romo doesn't leave, but I hate to tell you, I believe he's going to be gone. There's no way that we can keep him. Did not watch Undisputed. I'm not that big of a fan of it. I just have a problem with Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless really and truly gets on my nerves. He's another one of those guys that I believe just starts stuff just to be starting stuff. Calais Campbell technically is not a free agent yet, but see, Chandler Jones is probably going to be tagged, and they're trying to work out a long-term agreement with him. Chandler Jones is a lot younger than Calais. I think he's 27 or 28. But here's the thing that's interesting is Chandler had 49 tackles, 11 sacks. So you're not that far away with Calais Campbell. They're looking at the long-term effect of having him versus Calais Campbell. So that's why they're locking him up. But you can't keep everybody, unfortunately. As much as you may want to, you just can't. Skip is annoying, and that's the thing. Well, Skip is annoying, and God, Mr. Ed is even worse. Skip. He's like Mr. Ed. Did I ever see the Dallas Texans play in the 60s? I'm old, Cyberlink. I was born in 1965, so no, I did not see that. I'm not quite that old. Yeah, Jerry doesn't want to get rid of Romo, but Jerry also wanted Johnny Manziel, so there's that. Jerry also likes being the center of attention. The Dallas Cowboys are his toy, and he's going to make sure that he gets the headlines. But you'll notice how many times we've heard Jerry say this, but yet this is over here is what ends up happening. So don't be thinking that it's not going to happen. It just can't not happen. There's just no way that you can do that. Yeah, I agree with you, Sam, man. Special teams definitely need some help. But I think our defense is where we really have to focus on. You can get a kick returner later in the draft. Yeah, I've seen the movie Invincible. Yeah, that is a great movie. And I remember where they kicked the, yeah. In my heart, do I think Dak is better? At this point, I think Dak is better because he can stay healthy, because your best ability is your availability. And I don't think that Tony Romo is going to be available for very much longer. I don't think he can make it through a season. Just don't. Yeah, Calais Campbell is 6'8", about 300 pounds, and he can move. And again, he's got those long arms that he can reach out and grab a guy. He can also reach up and block a pass, or when he just stands straight up, he gets in front of that quarterback. That quarterback, if he's in front of him, can't see jack crap. And when he gets you, he don't miss tackles. You've been got. Well, these things are rolling through so fast that I can't keep up with them. Where are we? Secondary. Well, we definitely going to need some help in the secondary, but I still say first you go defense, That's just my philosophy. And it may be right or wrong, but that's just what I believe. John, I'm with you. Let's enjoy the journey. I'm enjoying the fact that, we're getting together. I'm excited as can be that most of our guys are healthy going into this offseason, that when the OTAs start, all those guys will be there lifting weights and practicing and getting in shape for the season. We're not waiting for guys to heal that, hopefully they'll be ready by training camp. These guys are all going to be healthy by training camp. Dez, we're not having to worry about like last year where his foot was messed up and they had to take it easy getting him back on the field. We're not having to wait for our quarterback, his collarbone, find out, are they going to shave more off the bone? Are they going to put a metal plate on it? We don't have to wait for that. We don't have to worry about guys. The only guys we're worried about right now are DeMarcus Lawrence, who had back surgery, and Tyron Crawford, who has shoulder surgery. Other than that, we're good to go with guys. To see Jalen Smith being able to work out the way he has been, not just running straight ahead, but having lateral movement, being able to do plyometrics where you can see him jumping off of that foot because that nerve wasn't allowing him to being able to push off. He could work out with a brace, but he wasn't able to actually move that ankle. That ankle has come a long ways. And if he can step up and you get him there with Sean Lee the way he's playing, oh, man, and you get Calais Campbell, all of a sudden that defense is going to be the bomb diggity. And, oh, my goodness, I have got to get ready to call in for the Benet Emery show. So what actually I have here is I actually Skype in using my cell phone, believe it or not. And I've got 1 minute before I go on. So you guys can actually see me doing the show, talking to Benet and them. And I am so far out of the loop. I keep losing a track of time here that I hadn't even brought the show up. Wow. Yeah, I've got one of those smartphones, but the only problem with the smartphone is it's got a dummy that's running it. So, all right. We are going to call in right now. All right.
I go on with more than that. And she don't tell herself out like I'm sure you showing up coochie praying and nothing like that.
All right, so they're actually on live.
Man, you do each other.
So you hear the show going on right now, and then I'll be talking here in a minute.
No, we got Mark calling in.
We got Mark calling in right now. Hey, well, I just want to touch on it for a quick second so we don't have some dead air. I know that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with more. Not Mark Holmes. We're going to get Mark funky ass right now, but we'll be back with more.
Why Mark got to be funky?
Funky ass? What the? Did he just say funky ass?
Right now, our sports segment, ladies and gentlemen, is main man. He's our yellow too.
Yeah.
But
that's just a coincidence.
I will tell you what, nobody on the face of this planet can give you the in-depth, deep details about our Dallas Cowboys. Ladies and gentlemen, the main Cowboy Jobu himself, Mark Holmes.
Funky ass? Did you just say I'm funky ass?
What he said.
I know you're not talking. Hot meat kettle.
Yeah.
How are we doing tonight, man?
Hey, we're doing all right tonight, Mark. Man, what's going on with you, dog? I know it is the off season and not a lot of things are going on. So I know you're gonna probably short on your sports segment, but I want to ask you about a couple of things specifically dealing with number 45 that I just want your input on.
Well, look, man, short on things, man, you need to go ahead and expand this section, man. We got so much stuff that's going on with the Dallas Cowboys. I dare say there's more stuff going on right now than there was during the season. First, we got Zeke happened to be at a bar. The police talked to him for a minute. You got TMZ saying that he was detained by the police. Out now basically lying, saying that, you know, something happening for clicks. You go to the video, he's just standing around because something happened in the club. The police talked to everybody. So you got,
real quick part.
Yeah.
What is the deal with Zeke? Because first his ex-girlfriend came out saying that she beat him up, that he beat her up and stuff. And then the text messages came out. That's a lie. And now this whole thing with the bar thing. What is the deal? I mean, he seems like a good dude. I don't know him personally, but what's the deal?
You know what the deal is? The deal is he's a Dallas Cowboy player. He's a star, and he has a target on his back. No matter what he does, he's going to be followed around by TMZ and all these guys. Okay, as far as the whole NFL, I can't tell you why they're taking so long to do this investigation because it's really ridiculous. She ended up saying, I'm going to ruin you if you break up with me. And he has text messages saying that. The police investigated the incidences that supposedly took place where she said that she was getting beat up for 6 weeks straight and found nothing to it. And then she said she was beat up in the car. There's 4 eyewitnesses that said, nah, honey, that didn't happen. So you got that right there. Then you had the whole thing where Dak and Zeke went to a club, you know, in the evening, had some champagne and shook up a bottle and let it shoot all over the place. And you would have thought that that was the end of the world. You had that. And of course, he happened to go to a nightclub in Columbus, Ohio, and they're talking about him in the club and being detained by the police, and there was nothing further from the truth. It's because he's a Dallas Cowboys. They're looking for anything and everything that they can possibly get on him. And if they can't find anything, they'll make it up.
So is this the example of fake news?
Oh, yeah, definitely fake news.
Yeah, I got you.
It's definitely fake news.
So what's been happening as far as the other stuff coming up for free agency? That's what I'm really concerned about.
Well, here's the news that happened this evening is that Travis Frederick and Tyron Smith restructured their contract, which got the Dallas Cowboys $17.3 million of cap space, which gets us under the cap. Basically, for all those that are going to say, oh, they're such team-friendly guys and ended up giving money back. No, they didn't give any money back. In fact, they just got a check written to them for $7 and $10 million, and they basically take that money and they prorate it over the life of the contract. It's great for right now because we've got cap space, but this is the reason why Tony Romo's number is so high is in past years when we haven't had money, hey, Tony, we're going to write you a check and we'll pay for it later. And that's why we got into cap hell with him. Unfortunately, that's where we are. But I think that we're not quite done with some of the bloodletting. I think we're going to let some players go, and I think we're going to be restructuring some other contracts because I think the Dallas Cowboys feel like they're close enough that they're going to be a big player in free agency, regardless of what you keep hearing that they're not going to. I think that they're actually still going to go for a pass rusher, and I still believe it's going to be Calais Campbell. I've been putting it out in the universe just like I did about Dak Prescott. I think Calais Campbell is the guy. And if any of you guys know Jerry Jones, Will McClay, Stephen Jones, or whatever, be sure to tell them that Jobu wants Calais Campbell in a Dallas Cowboy uniform.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So with that being said, does Gregory have any future with the Cowboys?
Not next year because he's going to be suspended for all next year for smoking the weed because he can't stay off the weed, man.
All next year?
What do you think happens when you fail 8 weed tests, man?
Yes, he goes.
Okay, he was suspended for 14 games this year. And then got busted while he was in rehab again. So that goes on to it. So he gets a year-long suspension now.
And they're going to just cut him, Mark. Or they just going to go ahead and cut him.
Why cut him? I mean, you've already got. Here's the thing. Whatever game that he's missed, well, he's not really. He's on the. He's not counting as the active roster. He's basically there and can't play. I forgot the term at the moment, but he's not costing him anything. And every game that he missed, he lost a game check. So far, he's only cost you peanuts. So what the heck? You keep him on the roster for another year. Maybe he finally gets it and ends up getting himself clean. He's shown flashes of talent, but he's got to get over this personal problem with the weed.
Yeah, and where do you think Romo's going to go?
Well, you got Peter King saying he thinks he's going to go to Kansas City. I think the Texans are probably the best fit. Denver is a possibility, but Denver has a terrible offensive line. So at this point, I'll be honest, I don't care where he goes. I just want to get this thing done and over with. It's literally Tony Romo. You know, this is almost like the OJ chase, man. It's like you don't want to watch, but you have to watch.
This is the same thing that happened with Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning.
It's true.
I firmly believe if they had kept Peyton Manning on the roster and let him teach and grow and mentor, although he's expensive, to the up and coming, I think that his experience is valuable. You can have all the time.
Okay. Wait. First of all, you're comparing Peyton Manning and Tony Romo. So put down the bottle, man. Put down the liquor because it's not apples to oranges right there. Now, let me say this. Well, just listen to me right now. Right now, Ron Leary, Terrence Williams, Barry Church, Jack Crawford, Terrell McClain, and Dak Prescott equal to Tony Romo's contract. You're going to go ahead and pay that much to a guy when you literally have 6 other players that are equal money? Come on, man. You can't do it. You cannot afford to keep him on there. You got the Patriots with Tom Brady, and they've got a great backup in Garoppolo. What are they looking to do? Trade him to get more picks.
Contracts are not up. So I'm saying, if they're going to take the hit anyway, I understand we want a pass rusher. I can understand we're going to need somebody to replace T-New and Bryce Butler. I understand all of that, y'all. We're going to need some linebackers. You're saying that Tony Romo right now is too expensive for the Cowboys to keep.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's one last point on Tony Romo. If you keep him for this year, it's not just the $24 million contract that you have. And I can guarantee you he won't take a pay cut to stay here to sit on the bench. You have to deal with the same thing next year. So it's not $24 million this year. It's $54 million that you have to deal with over 2 seasons. You're going to deal with $54 million for a guy who's 37 years old and has only played in 5 games over the last 2 years?
Well, I will cut a check, but my overdraft ain't that much, and I can't get no payday loan, so I got you.
Tony kind of screwed, huh?
Yeah. Tony, I'm sorry, buddy. I appreciate you leaving your collarbone, your punctured lung, your broken bones on the field. I appreciate it. You gave us some of the most exciting football and everything else, but bye-bye.
So you think Kansas City or Denver?
Kansas City. Actually, I think the Texans make the most sense.
That's what me too. I'm with that.
Texans have, best defense in football.
Yeah.
They've got a good offensive line. They're not far from Dallas, so he doesn't necessarily have to relocate everybody. It makes the most sense, and the Texans definitely want him.
Will they pay?
All right, Mark. Well, tell folks how to get in contact with you, homie.
Hey, definitely check out my YouTube channel, Mark Holmes, or look up Cowboy Jobu, because we keep up all the breaking news of the Dallas Cowboys. We actually posted like 4 videos and stuff. When the Zeke thing happened, we had our take and everything on it. So definitely like and subscribe to the Jobu Sports Report on on Mark Holmes' channel, and definitely on my Facebook channel, Cowboy Jobu, and here every Monday night on the Benet Emery Show.
All right, Mark, man, I appreciate it, dog. Good talk to you next week.
As always, we'll see you next week, man.
All
right. So, friends, that was me on the Benet Emery Show. I do that show every Monday night. Unfortunately, I didn't get the speakers quite loud enough, and I got to figure out the deal on that. I hope you guys could hear the conversation and stuff. But funky ass Benet had the nerve to say that I'm funky. What the hell? Robert Romain, you're typing nonstop. Wish it was longer. Well, thank you, Ernie, for saying I know what I'm talking about. Carlos, I have to disagree with you that about Dak being better, because I tell you what, most playoff games, he's never had 3 touchdown passes. Never had 300 yards. In fact, he's had more interceptions than touchdown passes in playoff games. Check it out. So when you say that Dak Prescott is, and I'm not going to use the word that you called him, because clearly there's something else that you don't like about him because you stated it in the comment. When you look at 104 passer rating, that's the second highest passer rating over the last 3 seasons. Higher than Tom Brady. Tony Romo actually has one that's slightly higher, but Tony Romo's only played 5 games in the last 2 seasons. So when you say that he can't play, sorry, I just can't agree with you. Don't matter, we lost. Carlos, you're right. We lost, but you can't throw it and say it was Dak Prescott's fault. You could say it was some of the calls from the officials that screwed us. You can say it was some of the calls that our coaches made. You can say it was our defense that couldn't put enough pressure on Aaron Rodgers. But if you get 3 touchdowns, 300 yards in most games, and 100 yards rushing from your running back, you should win the game. I'm just saying. Stay off the weed, yeah. Peace out, homie. Wow, it's almost 10 o'clock. First place schedule is going to be a killer. But I think the Cowboys are going to be ready for it. Like I said, I'm happy that the team is pretty much healthy going into the offseason. We don't have any major injuries we're dealing with. These guys are young and hungry. Do I think the Cowboys are going to get Calais Campbell? I want him. I'm just putting it out in the universe that I think that he would be a great fit. He's a guy who can play defensive end, defensive tackle. And let me say one more time before we get out of here. The thing that is great about him is if you get him in free agency, it opens up the draft. Because maybe there is a great pass rusher, great defensive end that's there that happens to fall that you have graded as a top 10. You can take that guy, and you can pair him up with Calais. You take Calais down to tackle. You put him on the end. You got David Irving on the other end. You got Collins, and you hopefully have Tapper in the rotation. All of a sudden, you've got a defensive line that can really do some damage. But maybe it's a wide receiver. Maybe you got another Dez out there that falls to you that you want to take. You can take him knowing that you've got somebody there on the line. Maybe it's cornerback. It opens up the draft completely for you. There's so many different things that you can do if you don't have to reach for a defensive end. And you don't want to ever be in a position where you're reaching for guys, because you may end up taking a guy that's only so-so and taking a chance on him where you might be able to get a stud, but it's not in the position that you need. And that's why I say you go for defensive end. And for me, the biggest bang for the buck that you can get, that's affordable, that is consistent, that stays healthy, is Calais Campbell. And you can agree or not agree with me. That's fine. This is football. And I'm giving you my opinions. So it is now 10 o'clock. I want to thank all you guys for joining in to the Jobu Sports Report for this live stream. It's been fantastic talking to you guys. We will be doing it again on Friday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, and I hope you guys join in. It has been great, as always, talking with you, and I'll be sure to keep posting as many videos as I can about any news that we have on the Dallas Cowboys. I have a great one that's actually will be making my argument for Calais Campbell that I'll be posting up later. And I also have a video, a two-part one that I'm working on about the Green Bay game and how and why we're not blaming Dak Prescott for it. I will be showing you play-by-play, every single play, and I challenge you guys that say that Dak Prescott is the reason we lost that game to show me where he lost it. So as always, friends, keep spreading the mojo. Thank you for joining the Jobu Sports Report. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to click on the picture of Sean Lee and Jobu so that way you can get your Dallas Cowboy fix here every week. Have a great night and a great week.